everybody, I'm here with the monthly favorites video. It's already the end of June. How can that be possible? Yay! I don't have a ton of favorites to show you, but I will talk about the few things I have anyway. The first thing I want to say is on my favorites is you guys. Thank you so much for watching this channel. When I started this, like, when was it, 2013? I didn't think anybody would watch this, and now there's like over 3,000 people, which is really amazing. I know that's small potatoes YouTube, but I didn't think even 100 people would watch this. So the fact that you guys are out there doing, like, watching this is like pretty amazing. I started a Facebook group. That is one of my new favorite things. I started a Facebook group, and again I thought, maybe 10 people will join, and like, I only started last week and there's like 50 people, and it's amazing and awesome, and people are interacting and posting things, and I love it. And I just love, I feel like I'm getting to know people more because, like, I see people's names in the comments, and so you kind of recognize people from the comments and stuff. But now in the Facebook group, people are talking more, and it's great to kind of get to know people a little bit better and know more about them, and it feels more community-like, and I really love that. So if you want to join us, the group is called Rock and Roll Witches. You can find it on Facebook. It's a closed group. There are 3 questions to answer to get into the group, and it's just to prove that you are somebody who is watching this, and you know what I mean. Like, you're not some random person or a bot or something, basically. So again, as I said in my Facebook group post that I made, you don't have to be a witch, consider yourself a witch. You just have to be kind of into woo things like tarot and astrology and stuff. And you don't have to like rock and roll either. You just have to be rocking whatever creative thing that you're doing. So yeah, so come join us. It's awesome. Like I said, there's already like 50 people in there, which is really amazing. So thank you so much to everybody who joined and everything. That is so awesome. I love it. It's my favorite thing this month, that's for sure. I'm gonna start with the woo things, and then I'll move to a couple of other things. Yeah, I don't think it'll be terribly long this month, the favorites video. So first of all, the crystals I've been working with are, I'm over here somewhere. I'm really into raw crystals right now, I have to say. I've got this raw amethyst. It doesn't look as purple with the lighting in here, but it's pretty purple. I've really enjoyed working with this one. It's got like a very soft kind of fairy type vibe. It makes me think of candy for some reason. This thing, very beautiful. And then I've got this raw piece of fluorite, and it's a very pale blue. You can't quite see it in this, but it's very pale blue. It's very neat, very cool to kind of see in its raw form, because we usually see it in that polished form. But I've really been enjoying working with these 2 stones here. I've been pairing them with the Shadowscapes and the Fairy Forest Oracle, which are 2 of my other favorites for the month. So we've got the Shadowscapes Tarot. This is one of my favorite decks. It's kind of like if you were, you know, on an island somewhere and you could only have one deck, probably pick this one. So it's just a beautiful, gorgeous deck. Like many people, I wish it was slightly bigger so I could see all the details on the pictures, but it's like every time you look at it, you see something different. It's definitely got a wonderful fae type vibe to it, which makes it perfect, I think, for this time of year. At least where I am in the northern hemisphere, it is summer now. I very much associate this time of year with fairies, and I love the colors on this deck. I'm not usually a watercolor person, but the way the colors are on this deck, it's just gorgeous. And I love, it's got like a bit of an iridescent sheen to it. It's a beautiful deck. So I've been loving working with this deck this month. I paired it with the Fairy Forest Oracle, a Lucy Cavendish deck, which, there it is there. I was a little worried that the richness of the color for this deck might overwhelm pairing it with the Shadowscapes, but I don't think it does. I think it's actually been a really good marriage of cards. It's just gorgeous. I love, again, the fairy vibes, and I love that it's not all like Victorian sweet candy fairies. There's a little bit of darkness there, a little bit of mystery. I like that there's sort of like different seasonal energies, this sort of fallish type decks. This is a very Halloween card. fall type cards, winter. Oh, there we go, winter, like I said. You know, that I really like that kind of all season sort of thing. So I've really enjoyed working with this particular deck. The next deck I'm going to show you is one that I'm going to use next month. I was going to hold it off to the spring, but I was so excited when I got it and just loving it that I decided I'm going to use it next month, and it is Tarot in Wonderland. I've been doing a little bit of reading for myself with this particular deck. First of all, loving the packaging. Llewellyn has totally stepped up their packaging. Look at this gorgeous book, full color, amazing. And then we've got packaging inside so you can store. I love this because then I can put the box on the shelf and I don't have to find a bag or a box or something. It's your typical standard Llewellyn size. I love Alice in Wonderland. When I was growing up, it's one of my favorite books. And I just love the colors. No borders. Love that. They've been listening. I love the symmetry. And you know what? This deck is a very straightforward, kind of cheeky deck. I like that. I think it's perfect for July. I love working with this. I was a little cautious because I've been disappointed by Alice-themed things before, but this one does not disappoint, so I'm very, very happy with this. As for books, the book that I've been reading this month is Choose Wonder Over Worry by Amber Ray. I heard about this through a podcast, and then I went and picked up the book, and it's a really great book. It's not a super long read. It is... How many pages do we got here? 235. So not super short, but not super long. And it talks about things like, it's really for people who are creative or just anyone who kind of feels like they're not really living their dream. So, and I think all of us to a certain extent sometimes feel like that. So it talks about worry and wonder and how like we often let worry stop us from doing things. And so it has these little chapters about things like worry myths, like shoulding ourselves, and fear, self-doubt, procrastination, stress, uncertainty, envy, comparison, shame, that kind of stuff, and things that you can do to kind of work with that. Hiding judgment, fear of being judged by others, jealousy and anger, feeling overwhelmed, things like that. So there are all these short little things that talk about it, and she talks about some of her experiences, and then has these sort of little journaling exercises about those things, because we all feel those things at times, right? So it's just about not being afraid to kind of go after things and live your dreams. So a very pretty cover, very pretty, very nice. So if you are someone who, especially if you're a creative type person, I would recommend this book. It was a very nice little read, so I enjoyed that. Besides reading, I'm going to recommend a couple of podcasts because I've really been getting into podcasts. I really like listening to them when I'm working and stuff because I can just do my work and kind of listen to things. So I'm not going to mention all of them, but I'll list a couple of faves. So there's a very funny one that has nothing to do with woo stuff whatsoever, but a friend of mine recommended it to me, and I've been laughing and enjoying it. I'm late to the party because it started in 2015, and you may have already heard of this podcast. It's called My Dad Wrote a Porno, and it is a guy's dad, his 6-year-old dad wrote an erotic novel, and he reads it, and his friends react to it, and it is hilarious. It is obviously not safe for work. I don't listen to this one at work. Just, do not listen to this at work. I listen to this sometimes on the way home from work, and I have tried not to laugh out loud on the bus because it is so funny. It is hilarious. It is a very poorly written erotic novel, we'll say that. And somehow I found that the worse written, the better. It makes me laugh so hard. So if you have that kind of sense of humor, I would say check that out. You will laugh. Start at the beginning. I have to say, go all the way back, 2015, and start at that first one, because then you get the context for everything. It's super funny. It's amazing. On a more serious type note, another podcast that I've been really enjoying is Hippie Witch. Again, that one's been around for a while. It's Joanna DeVoe. You probably all know who she is, but I've been really enjoying her podcast as well. Another one I've been enjoying is one called Being Boss, which if you are a creative entrepreneur, it's kind of more for, like, they're graphic designers, so it's a little more businessy, but there's still really great ideas in it, and the ladies that do it are really fun. So those are some podcasts you might want to check out if you're into podcasts. The other thing that was my favorite this month is I was in an art show. It was kind of an impromptu art show because a friend of mine runs a gallery, and she had an artist, back out suddenly of their booking in June. So she sent out a message to all the members saying, hey, we're going to do a group show. So I put a piece in, which was good because I'm working on a long-term project. And I put the piece in, and I got some good feedback, which was awesome and amazing. I'm going to put the painting in here. And what it says on it, what I did was I drew in pencil, I painted the background. I usually pick an item to be kind of like a halo around the person, and then I write a story. And this project's like a really personal project for me because it's kind of about some of the things that I went through growing up. And one of the things that really helped me when I was growing up and going through a lot of difficult things, being in a very conservative Christian Catholic type household and going to very strict Catholic school and all that stuff, was I really loved, like metal and hard rock and stuff, and that really helped me out. And I love to draw, and one of the first things I loved to draw was I would draw the bands I really liked. And so I went back to kind of doing some of that drawing, and then I'm also talking about some of the things that happened while I was at that time. So the first painting that I showed was one that I just showed in the picture there. And just so you know what it says on there, I'm going to read it. It's too big to cover it on here, but it says, I grew up in a small town where everyone smoked DeMaurier and drank Budweiser beer. Everyone dressed the same, and if you were different, they made fun of you. Being different, creative kid, was not easy. People made up stories about me. When I was a teen, someone made up a story I was a lesbian. Another said that I had herpes, and a woman said I was so skinny that I must be pregnant. Makes perfect sense, right? Then another person, a nurse, said that I had an abortion. None of it was true, but none of that mattered, especially because it wasn't just the kids doing it. Adults participated in it, and I later found out were often the origin of the rumors. And that's absolutely true. I grew up in a small town, and people, I guess, were bored, and they would just make up shit about you, especially if you were different in any way at all, and I was different. And it didn't help that I grew up in a religious family, so you're in the weird religious family, right? But people would just make stuff up that had no shred of truth to it, but it would stick, and people would believe it was true to you. And to this day, some people believe some of that stuff, even though it's not true. And it's funny because I look at it now and I think, well, who cares even if I was a lesbian, like, who cares? To me, even if I had an abortion, like, who cares? Any of those things would have been nobody's business anyway. But as a kid, especially when, it wasn't true, it was, like having people just make up stuff about you, and you could say it wasn't true, but people still wouldn't believe you, was so frustrating. And then to find out when you're older that adults were the ones that were doing it is really disappointing, and it's just very sad. And I know that that's kind of stuff still goes on to this day for lots of people in small towns and very small communities, that if you're different, people sometimes can be very cruel about that. So anyway, that's what that piece is about. And it's called Out to Get Me, and it's a drawing of Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. So because I definitely resonated with that song. I try to pick a person or a song that has something to do with the story. So I'm going to be doing a series of those, but that's the first one that I showed. I did get a lot of love for that on Instagram and Facebook, so thank you so much for the people that did. And just thank you everyone for supporting this channel. I really, really appreciate it. I'm sending you guys so much love. Thanks for watching as always. Peace, love, rock and roll.